Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining us. I have Ted Waz, CEO of the Opinion Economy, on the show with me right now. All right, Ted, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. In this interview, I'd like to understand, number one, what is the opinion economy? But before we get into that, give us some background on your company and yourself. I'd like to hear something about the power behind the entity, the company that's moving forward.
Sure. So the opinion economy is a collection of technologists and consumer data and market research professionals who've come together to try to provide transformative technology that takes what we saw with Facebook and Cambridge Analytica as really a misuse or a misrepresentation of technology and consumer data, and give all of the power back to consumers and to the brands who are seeking their information. So by way of background, my CTO is Dr. Claudio Lima, who is a PhD from the UK. He is vice chairman of the IEEE, chairman of the Blockchain Engineering Council, and special ambassador between the IEEE and Consensus, the Ethereum platform. I, by training, am a postgraduate fellow from Harvard Medical School, a clinical informaticist, and I've served in a variety of C-level positions in Fortune 50 companies and marquee healthcare and government type agencies. So we've come together and we've formed this company called the Opinion Economy. And we've received the patent from the US Patent Office, which is for a system and method for creating a consumer behavioral and opinion data economy, which is the first time the Patent Office has ever issued that sort of patent. And we've built a platform as a service, leveraging leading technologies, blockchain as a service, distributed ledger technology, smart contracting, cryptography, data at rest and data in motion, anomaly and threat detection, behavior classification technologies, zero-touch digital edge services with algebraic wrappers. Now, all of that comes from expertise from around the country and from folks that are working on projects at NASA, the NSA, JPL. They're working in social media. And we've combined them in a way that allows us to scale and meet the needs of brands and consumers who want to share information and really want to be rewarded for it on the other end.
Let's drill down on that one. How does that process pan out, and how do people really leverage and optimize your service to the best use and highest use?
Sure. So today, consumer data is actually collected, distributed, and sold quite a bit. I mean, literally, it's hundreds of billions of dollars every year. And consumers don't get very much of that money at all. Actually, typically, it's less than 2%. Right. And so what we've done is we've set up a way, inspired a lot by the work of the European Union and GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. It says that consumers really have a right to their data, and they have a right to know who has access to it, who they want to share it with, and they have a right to be compensated for that data. So we've worked with that framework in mind. And what we've done is we've created an opportunity that a consumer can say, I want to actively share my opinions and share my insights with you, brands, or other people who are interested in acquiring that data. And they do that through an application that they can access through their computer or their mobile phone. We attach the information cryptographically to the blockchain, authenticating in a decentralized way with the latest advances in know your customer technology. We take a look at all of the processing of payments through an anti-money laundering capability, and we do straight through processing using smart contracts. So there's no longer any sort of waiting, or you don't have to collect a bunch of points and then get paid later.
That that is something that's a little over my head, but I can see where it works. Why is Facebook and Cambridge Analytics issue, and or issue? Why is it an issue at all?
Well, the interesting thing is that they built a model, and they're only representative of a behavior that takes place across virtually every Fortune 1000 company. Data is collected from us passively through social media, through our telephones, through our credit instruments, whether it's a debit card, a credit card, a loyalty card, through our cameras, through our cars, through our wellness applications. Anytime we download an application and we click through agree on a user agreement, we're giving some sort of access for them to collect that information and then share it with no accountability to letting us know whether the information is being used internally or it's being repackaged, rebundled, and sold to someone else for their use. And so what Facebook and Cambridge Analytica, again, representatively, did is that they shared information in a way that some folks saw as inappropriate. So technically, they didn't break any U.S. laws. The question is whether or not they violated some international laws, but they didn't break any U.S. laws. There's been no legislative action that's changed as a result of those hearings. And so we are really focused on how do we practically introduce to people a way that they can be involved, have accountability for their information, and get paid for it in the process.
When you say get paid for it in the process, give me an example of what you mean by that.
Sure. So our initial launch of a product, which is going to take place on October 1st, typically has brands that want to ask questions of customers or potential consumers. So they'll pay anywhere from a few dollars to, depending on the nature of the survey, could be 20, 30, 50, or even $100 to gather information. And so what we do is we make sure that the consumer gets that money, as opposed to all the middlemen that today take pieces of that money. So at the end of the day, the consumer is only getting, $1 or $2 or mystery points. So the consumer gets the bulk of that money. And that can add up quite a bit if you have someone who's willing to share their insights. And so our first phase is active research. People who have questions and people who want to answer those questions and be compensated. Our second phase actually includes the passive data, where a consumer can say, I use all of these digital interfaces and I'm willing to share them with these type of companies. And then we're able to track that, who has interest, and connect those companies with consumers to be able to share their information, their both active and passive data, for which they would get paid.
Okay, and give me an idea of how much they would get paid in an example, because we're talking about paying them, but it's still a little gray to me.
So depending on how frequently someone wanted to engage, we're talking anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a year. It could be $250,000 over the course of someone's life.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And depending on what type of demographic information they have and the experiences that people are looking for to be able to answer these questions, it can be quite lucrative. Average is between $5 and $10 per survey.
I get it. Okay, I got it. What about GDPR? Is it going to have any real impact?
So GDPR actually has already had impact. And if you look at Vermont now has a data broker registration law. GDPR impacts people living in the United States today. And I'll give you one very practical example. Poland, which is in the European Union, the largest city is Warsaw, and they have the largest population of Polish citizens. No big surprise there. Krakow, the second largest city, has the third largest population of Polish citizens. It seems a little odd until you realize that Chicago has the second largest population of Polish citizens anywhere in the world. So there's a population of folks that are covered by the GDPR. They're European Union citizens living in the United States, interacting with commerce. Their data is being captured, shared, and monetized, and they're covered by GDPR. And companies that are interacting with them are at risk of violations of 4% of their global gross revenues, or 20 million euro, roughly 22, 23 million US dollars per incident. So there's impact there.
I get it. I think we pretty much covered it. Ted, thank you for being a guest on the show. I really appreciate this.
It's my pleasure. Love your show. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you've been watching CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.